talking about Nature of Science Unit 1, Lab Safety. So down, let me get my pen. And I mean, even if we're just chatting, you get off topic a little bit, it doesn't matter. If you were in class that day, same thing would happen. Safety rules. Okay, you can follow along if you can't see it because it's a little bit fuzzy since I enlarged it. First thing, be responsible. Common sense. Notify the teacher of anyone that is unsafe. If you notice something going on in the classroom or in the lab that is unsafe, come and tell me. I'm not going to say, oh, Johnny said you were doing this unsafe. I'm just going to go investigate. Nobody's going to know who told me, because during a lab, people are coming to me all the time asking me questions, whatever. Let me know if you see something unsafe or you see someone doing something not safe. We don't want anybody getting injured, okay? That's our utmost important thing that we need to do, is keep everybody safe. No horseplay, and do not wander or distract others. Yeah, you're going to have your friends back there. You may not be sitting next to your friend during class, but the lab is not the place to go hang out and socialize. The lab is the place to get the lab work done. Make sense? Years ago, and I like to throw in little stories during my lectures. Years ago, we had a student teacher in our class. He was taking care of one area of the lab. The lab was set up very different than this, so it's kind of hard to visualize for me. So let's say back in the back corner, he was talking to some students about the lab. Over here on this side, he had part of his lab equipment. He had plastic spoons with little beans, dried beans. Kids were flinging them across the room at each other. Okay. The student teacher later got a little discussion about keeping an eye on the whole class. But those students shouldn't have been doing that, right? That was not good for those students to be doing, but yes, they were flinging. And because during the student teaching part of it, I couldn't intervene, I'm supposed to just observe and record what's going on during this lab. Later I talked to him, I said, did you realize the kids were flinging beans at each other in a war? And he's like, oh, they were? I was like, they were. So be aware of what's going on, let me know. Be clean. Clean up before and after the lab. When you enter a lab, look around and see how clean it is. If your particular station is not clean, let me know, because I'm going to talk to the people who left the lab that way. I'll know who's at each station of the lab. So keep it clean when you enter and when you leave. Keep aisles, labs clear of clutter. So when you go into the lab, you're not going to be taking your backpacks, you're not going to be taking your Chromebooks. You're just going to be taking your lab sheet that you need to and a pencil, or whatever I tell you to take with you into the lab. So keep it neat. When we're doing the microscope lab, we call it the butt factor. Everybody's doing this. Now your aisles between your benches here are a little wider than at Stonebridge. When you did this, the person behind you doing the same thing, you hit butts. That's why we called it the butt factor. Here it's a little wider. You have a little bit more space, so you won't be hitting each other's butts. But anyway, beside that, keep your aisles clear. People carrying some glassware, you don't want them tripping over something and then breaking it, falling on the broken glass. Follow instructions carefully. So on this part, follow instructions carefully. I want you to underline it. I want you to star it. I want you to do something. Circle it. Whatever. That is the number one safety rule. Follow directions. Okay? So please start out. It might be a question on the quiz. Number one rule. If you are following instructions and directions, everything falls into place as far as safety goes. Do not do or touch anything unless told to do so. If I haven't given you the instructions or the directions to do it, do it. Do not work without a teacher present. And I'm going to add something to that, and I want you to add something to that. and lab partner. Unless you've been told this is an individual lab, or unless you've been told, oh, your partner's absent today, I'm going to put you with this group of 3, or you can work by yourself today, whatever the case may be. If you are to work with a partner, you do not carry out the lab without your partner being there to help you with it. You guys, you've got to work together, okay? If you don't like the lab partner you have that day, it's like getting a job. How many of you guys have a job already? Nobody yet? You have a job. Okay. So, when you're at your job, do you have to work with different people at your job? Yes. So what if you don't particularly like somebody, but your boss says you're working with them today? Can you say, not doing it? What would happen if you did that? Maybe get fired? Yeah. Or a talking to, right? So understand getting along with people and working together as a group to come to the right answers to things is really, really important. Only do experiments told to. Once again, follow instructions. You're not going to be creating your own experiments. Next page. Do not eat, drink, chew gum, or put anything in your mouth in the lab. I want you to add this. Includes water bottles. Okay? In the lab, you don't even take your water bottles in the lab. You keep them at your desk. Do not use lab glassware as containers for food or drink. I had a college professor who used to take the beaker. You guys just went around and did the equipment. You know what a beaker looks like. He used to drink his coffee out of his beaker. He used to heat it up on the hot plate or keep it warm on the hot, yeah, this was college. This was college back in the day. He used to take his coffee, put it in a beaker, and put it on the hot plate and keep it warm. No.
You can buy beakers online that are coffee cups, but you do not use an actual beaker from the lab.
You don't use any equipment.
What do you think has been in there? Chemicals, all
Maybe
types of stuff.
Maybe somebody before you didn't clean it well.
Right.
And there's some chemical in there still, you can't see it, that might be poison. Okay? Yes, she's right. A chemistry teacher at Stonebridge has a beaker that's specifically made a coffee, and it has a little handle on it, and he walks around with it just out of fun because the students know you're not supposed to eat or drink out of any of lab equipment. Safety. Know where all the safety equipment is and how to use it. I will go through that in a few minutes. Know where fire exit and fire drill. If we have a fire drill, you go right out this door, down the steps, and across to the far side of the little parking lot that's right behind us, okay? So out these, last one out, please shut the door and turn out the lights. I'll usually, when I walk out the door, I will pull the magnet so that the door closes and locks. Leave all your stuff here, and we'll go right out. Know how to use the equipment. If unsure, ask the teacher. Fire extinguisher, I'll take care of. Other things, I'll show you how to use them. If you carry sharp items, point tips down, okay? We may be doing some things that use some really sharp point tools or some scalpels or something like that. Always carry it down. Always cut away from yourself. You may have a time where you need to scrape something off of a potato or something. You scrape away from you, don't scrape towards you. Even if it's a plastic knife. Trust me, people have cut themselves on plastic knives. If it can cut meat, it can probably cut your finger. Maybe not all the way through, but it could cut your finger. With chemicals, heat, glassware, goggles must be worn. Contacts should not. So when I asked that question on the parent information sheet, it said, does your student wear contacts? Why do you think it's important to know whether or not somebody is wearing contacts? Right. So we're going to ask if you have glasses at home on lab days, do not wear your contacts. Reason being, even if you have your goggles on, there could be a potential liquid can get into some tiny little places. So if you spill liquid on you and it runs down behind your goggles and it gets in your eyes and you have contacts on, it could melt your contacts to your eyeballs. Or it could burn your eyeballs pretty badly. So, is there anybody who has contacts but no spare pair of glasses? All right, that's why I need you to sign up for Remind. If you have specifically those of you who need to be reminded about things like bring a pair of glasses or wear your glasses today, bring covered shoes, whatever. That's important to know. If you have not brought extra glasses in and you need to wear your goggles, let me know. I've got contacts in today and I will keep real tight, close watch of you. I really don't want you to miss the lab, but if you have contacts, you really should wear glasses instead. And yes, the goggles fit over the glasses. Tie back long hair and do not wear baggy clothes or jewelry. You don't want to lean into something and get acid on your hair and your hair suddenly starts sizzling, or it turns a funky color, or you reach over and your long sleeves hit something. Or we don't use open flame in here, so we don't have to worry about that. But a hot plate, you could start burning something on a hot plate, especially if you're wearing like a jersey that would melt if it hit a hot plate. Feet need to be covered. So once again, reason for being on Remind, I will send out a remind the night before. Hey, closed-toed shoes today. If you show up without closed-toed shoes on, you will not be doing the lab. You'll have to make arrangements to come back and do it at a different time. Lab aprons must be worn to protect your clothes, you and your clothes, and lab coats. I'm going to put that on there because a lot of the teachers, like myself, have lab coats. We will wear lab coats because we're working all day long and we just are used to having lab coats on. So either a lab apron or a lab coat. Sometimes I actually wear an apron. If it's really hot in the classroom, I prefer to wear an apron versus a coat because a coat has long sleeves. Questions about that page? I know this is all stuff you've heard before and it's kind of boring, but we've got to go through it. It's a requirement. Accidents. Report any accident to the teacher immediately. Yell, Mrs. Ingram. Okay? If you were on fire, Mrs. Ingram fire, Mrs. Ingram eyes, Mrs. Ingram, chemicals, whatever the case may be. Don't go running around the classroom or run out to the bathroom. You've got to yell to me to come help you immediately. And I'll explain the equipment and all that. Never put chemicals back into their containers. Why do you think you don't, if you're pouring out of an Erlenmeyer flask into a graduated cylinder, and those things you just noticed around the room during the investigation, if you're going to measure something out and it says measure 5 mils out and you measure out 7, why would you not pour it back into the Erlenmeyer flask or the beaker that it came from?
Oh wait.
You're on the right track. So the graduated cylinder might have chemicals in it that when you pour into the graduated cylinder and you over pour, if you poured it back into the original container where it came from, you may be pouring chemicals, other chemicals and contaminants into it. And then you ruined an entire beaker or Erlenmeyer flask of chemicals. Whereas if you just dump a little out in the sink and start over, you're better off. You've only messed up a little bit versus a whole container. Some of the chemicals we use are kind of expensive, or they just take a long time to mix up. So never pour back into the original container that it came from. All right. Chemicals, let's see. On skin, we'll go over flushing water. Eye wash. I want you to put 15 minutes next to the eye wash. Underline it, highlight it, star it, something. Once I show you the eye wash, we will go over that. It's 15 minutes. Do not pick up any broken glass or glassware. Tell me, hey, Mrs. Ingram, broken glass. We all break things, even teachers. So just let me know. I will clean it up. I will first get you a replacement so you can keep working. Step away from the glass. I'll take care of it. Never in the regular trash can. We have broken glass boxes back there specifically for that. All chemicals are to be considered dangerous. Do not touch, taste, smell any unless to do so. You won't be tasting anything in here. Sorry. Never put chemicals back into their containers. Like I said, you could contaminate it. Sinks are only used for water and solutions. The teacher says, do not put anything down the sink unless I say it's okay to wash it down the sink. Waste containers for other chemicals will be provided. Keep hands away from face, mouth, eyes using chemicals. 1 year, true story. We were working with some stuff. Kid lifted up his goggles and started rubbing his eyes. He then had a little encounter with the eye wash. Okay?
This is someone who's actually using it.
Not, I mean, it was one of the other classes that I worked with. But anyway, so if you have something in your eye or your face starts getting itchy, you wash your hands, you take your goggles off, and you come over here and do it. Do not do anything until you wash your hands. All right, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. Do not point an open end of a heating test tube towards you. Why would you not want to angle the test tube towards you? It could explode out of it, right? Yeah, absolutely. When you're boiling something on the stove, it bubbles up and kind of spits and stuff like that. You don't want to angle anything that you're heating towards anybody or yourself. Never look into a container being heated. Why would you not want to? Once again, it could splatter up. It could explode out of there and hit you in the face. Never pour hot liquids into plastic containers. I think that's kind of common sense by now. It would melt the container and then you have a big mess on your hands, a hot mess. When you're smelling something, how do you smell it? Remember from waft it. You never stick your nose in it. I've seen kids do that every year. Please waft. It can really singe your nose hairs and singe your mucous membranes if you sniff it directly. You waft it. Handle all living organisms with respect and care, feeding, etc. Preserved materials are to be treated with respect and disposed of properly. There may be a time in this year that we are using live organisms like bacteria or something. I'm going to be sending home a separate safety sheet for that particular lab. So I didn't send it home now because I'm not sure exactly when and where we're going to be using it. All right, let's go over this stuff really quickly. If you want to take some notes beside these little pictures, please do so. Fire extinguisher is right here. If we have a fire in this classroom, I prefer you guys getting out. I'll pull the fire alarm and I will try it and I will do my best if it's a small one to use this. Otherwise, I'm out of here. Okay? Emergency stop. This shuts down all the electricity in the science hall. It's not just this classroom. I had a student 2 years ago. Our button at the other school was here. Everybody was crowding by the door. They were goofing off. His backpack backed up into it. Suddenly, the entire hall is dead. And there were some people in another class doing a very important experiment. They had to stop doing their experiment. Because it takes time for this to get reset. They have to do something, and I don't know what it is. But don't back into this. Don't play with it. Don't touch it to see what would happen. You're going to shut the whole hallway down. And there's going to be a lot of people not too happy with you. Truly not too happy. Hand sanitizer if you need it. Fire blanket. Fire blanket is right here. Okay? It's not for keeping warm if it's cold. Okay? It's all folded up nice and neat. If it gets unfolded, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to put it back as neatly as it is in there. That is for fires. If your clothing or your hair gets on fire, you need the fire blanket. So you scream, Mrs. Ingram, fire. I will grab that and wrap you up. The stop, drop, and roll thing you learned probably in elementary school. We're going to wrap you up. Why do we not go to the shower for that? Yes, it could, if it's an oil-based or something, it could make it worse. It could make it spread. We need to cut off the oxygen supply. Goggles, they're in here. We'll talk about those more, but they're for eye protection. They get sterilized after each class, so put them back neatly the way you found them. The hoods. Anytime we're working with a fume, with something that has obnoxious fumes to it, it will be sitting in here. We keep this partway closed so you can put your arms in, but you can't put your head in. And we'll have the fume start, if you spill some chemicals on you, I want you to start dousing yourself as soon as possible with your clothes on, okay?
Like, what happened on I'm not sure it's yeah, but
It will, but start rinsing off first, okay? Start rinsing, and we'll get
More
your,
still has there.
okay?
Start rinsing with the shirt on.
then when they all get out, they'll just
Yeah, I don't want you declothing with people in the room, okay? Okay? Shh. You guys get it, right? Start rinsing off, and then we'll worry about do you need to take the rest of your clothes off. I have never had to use this, and I'm hoping I never do. Okay? And you hope too. Very good. When you pull this, a lot of water comes out. There for the drain. Now, story. Had a kid in biology a number of years back. Hopefully he's out of college, right? We told him, don't mess with this. If you walk by and you hit it, nothing's going to happen. You've got to directly pull it down. He was goofing off at the end of class. They were all standing around talking, and he starts pulling on it. And water starts pouring out. We made him stay and clean up. It was gallons and gallons of water. Okay? I mean a lot. Huh?
Was it like a train or something?
Yeah, but it's still, trust me, it goes everywhere. This is
It
not a
can
big enough
flood
drain
the
and
whole
everything.
entire floor.
Yeah. I mean, when you take a shower, does the floor of the shower get wet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't all just go straight down the drain, right? Okay. He had to stay and clean it up, and I did not give him a tardy pass to his next class. Okay? And I told him if he ever did that again, he learned his lesson because he was tardy to the next class, and he had to sit there and clean it all up while everybody left. And then when my class, next class came in, he was still cleaning up. I said, if you ever do it again, you're going to be referred to admin. Next year, he's in chemistry. I'm at lunch, and the chemistry teacher is talking about a student who is goofing off and pulled on the shower. I had to ask, who was it? Guess what? Same student. Oh, I'm not telling his name. Actually, I don't think it's been so long I can't remember his name. I just could not believe it. And I told the chemistry teacher what happened in biology, and she's like, you've got to be kidding me. Second time he did that, so I said, please send him to admin. Because refer him to admin. Because he didn't learn his lesson the first time, right? Obviously, he did it again. So, and I told the chem teacher, I said, make sure you let him know that I told you what he did in biology. Please don't goof around. This stuff is not to be goofed with. This is for putting out chemicals on, rinsing, diluting chemicals off your body, not for fires. All right, move on. Breakage box. If you break anything, just let me know. I'll take care of it.
Class is not over yet. She's still talking.
Okay. Goggles must be worn. Fire exit, we've done that. Okay, so we've gone over all of these things. Any questions about these things? What is the most important safety rule? Follow instructions. Exactly. Yes, goggles are important. Everybody says, oh, goggles. Well, if you follow instructions, you'll be wearing your goggles.
True.
If you follow instructions, you'll be wearing the proper equipment to protect you, gloves or whatever you need. All right?
You should always remember these rules throughout
Yes,
the
go
year.
back and finish. All right, if you didn't have your binder today, please give me your packet and I will keep it safe. You do not have any homework unless you need to get me forms.